Hello and welcome. Settle in, perhaps with a cup of tea, as we prepare to explore a rather curious idea together. Today I invite you to join a thought experiment, a fresh and intriguing way to look at the royal family, one that goes beyond the usual headlines and familiar debates. We're not here to rehash old arguments or take sides. Instead, let's flip the narrative entirely and see what new perspectives are revealed when we do. Think for a moment about the stories we're told about the royals. Who decides which stories are told? And just as importantly, what details are left out or glossed over? This isn't about pointing fingers or assigning blame. It's about approaching the subject with fairness, open-mindedness, and a genuine sense of curiosity. We'll hold up a mirror to the media itself and ask, does the reflection we see truly match reality, or is it distorted by unseen hands? Our guide for this journey is broadcaster James O'Brien, a sharp observer who once posed a simple yet profound question that challenges us to think differently. What if the relentless media scrutiny and criticism faced by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex was, instead, directed at King Charles? Imagine the headlines, the speculation, the public reaction. This role reversal is not just a game, it's deeply illuminating. So let's set aside our preconceptions, put on our detective hats, and examine the evidence with fresh eyes. What patterns emerge when we look closer? The real mystery here is this: who truly shapes public perception and for what reasons? What motives might be at play behind the scenes? By the end of this experiment, you might find yourself seeing those familiar headlines in a completely new light, questioning what you once took for granted. This is more than just a mental exercise. It's a chance to practice empathy, sharpen our critical thinking, and challenge the stories we're told. So let's embark on this journey together. Open your mind and let's begin. James O'Brien's question is deceptively simple. Take the headlines and stories you see about Meghan and Harry, and imagine, just for a moment, that they were written about King Charles instead. What if every accusation, every loaded word, every critical headline was suddenly aimed at the monarch himself? Instantly, the world of royal reporting looks different. The double standards that have always been there become impossible to ignore. The contrast is jarring, and it forces us to question the fairness of the coverage. Meghan and Harry are so often painted as rebellious, self-serving and disrespectful, portrayed as if their every move is a calculated affront to tradition or decency. Their requests for privacy are twisted into accusations of hypocrisy. Their actions, no matter how ordinary, are made to seem suspicious or even sinister. The tone of the coverage is relentlessly hostile and deeply personal, as if the goal is not to inform but to attack. Now imagine applying that same harsh, unforgiving lens to King Charles. Imagine every minor misstep or personal request blown out of proportion, every headline dripping with suspicion. Suddenly, the absurdity and cruelty of the treatment Meghan and Harry have received becomes undeniable. It's impossible to justify. We see the nitpicking, the exaggeration, and the relentless negativity for what they truly are: tools of distortion, not of truth. This isn't journalism in any meaningful sense. It's a targeted assault designed to shape public opinion and inflict damage. By switching perspectives, the deep bias in the coverage is exposed for all to see. The rules are not applied equally. Most people would find such headlines about King Charles not just surprising, but utterly preposterous and unfair, almost laughable in their extremity. If it's so clearly unfair for him, why was it ever considered acceptable for Meghan and Harry? Why did we let it happen? That's the uncomfortable truth that James O'Brien's question forces us to confront. It's a mirror held up to our own assumptions and the media's power. This question is the vital starting point for any honest conversation about the monarchy, the media, and the stories we choose to believe. Only by facing it can we hope to move forward. Let's imagine King Charles getting the Sussex treatment. Headlines might scream, "Hypocrite Charles lectures nation on climate change." Then flies private jet, or King demands public fund his lavish lifestyle while Britons struggle. His interests, organic farming, architecture, twisted into control-freak Charles monarch's bizarre meddling revealed. His letters to ministers, power-hungry King's secret plot to influence democracy, family life would be mercilessly picked apart. Charles's nubs Harry again. His relationship with Camilla would be endlessly re-examined. Will Camilla ever be forgiven? Even official duties would be spun as vanity or waste. This is the reality Meghan and Harry faced. When applied to the monarch, the cruelty and distortion become obvious. It's not reporting, it's character assassination. The double standard is clear when we compare real events and media reactions. Meghan guest-edited Vogue. She was called too political, breaking royal neutrality. The coverage was negative, questioning her motives. Meanwhile, Charles spent decades outspoken on issues, writing to government officials. He was called a passionate campaigner, not a troublemaker. When Meghan and Harry renovated Frogmore Cottage, headlines were brutal, painting them as greedy. They repaid the cost, but the damage was done. In contrast, Buckingham Palace's massive renovation is reported as sensible and necessary, not indulgent. The tone is starkly different. The media protects one royal while attacking another for far less. The contrast reveals a deliberate choice in coverage. Why does this chasm in coverage exist? Three forces: control, colour and convention. The royal system and media have an unspoken agreement: play by the rules, get protection. Meghan and Harry's sin was refusing to play the game. Race is undeniable. Meghan, as a biracial American, faced scrutiny and hostility no other royal in-law endured. Her difference was seen as a threat. Tradition is the third pillar. Charles embodies it, so attacking him is attacking the institution. Meghan and Harry were seen as disruptors, framed as rejecting duty. These forces filter all royal news. The media protects the status quo and punishes those who challenge it. By forging their own path, Meghan and Harry became targets. The system rewards conformity and punishes independence. Turning the tabloid spotlight on King Charles exposes the cruelty of selective scrutiny. We're not used to seeing a monarch treated with contempt, and it feels jarring. The media's approach isn't about balanced journalism, it's about drama and enforcing a worldview. This role reversal reminds us of the humanity behind the headlines. Meghan and Harry became caricatures. Charles, under the same treatment, would too. The emotional toll is real. Many criticisms of the Sussexes look trivial when applied to the king. Would we care if Charles held his wife's hand in public? Of course not. The campaign against Meghan and Harry was built on trivialities. This exercise teaches us media literacy. Question the frame, the language, the message. It moves us from passive consumers to critical readers. 13. James O'Brien's flipping of the script isn't satire, it's exposure. It shows us how toxic, selective and vicious the coverage of Meghan and Harry has been. If the goalposts keep shifting, if silence is wrong, speaking is worse and existing is criminal, then the game was never fair to begin with. The media made Meghan and Harry villains because they walked away. Because they had the audacity to choose their own story over a tabloid-fed fantasy. Because they chose truth over tradition, love over loyalty to an institution that failed them. Meanwhile, King Charles can coast on royal immunity, with the press ready to defend every misstep as duty-bound grace. So, darlings, if the script flipped, would Charles survive it? Or would he be torn apart like Meghan has been? I'll let you sit with that one. Subscribe, share and stay bold. This is Meghan and Harry Tales, where we see through the spin and stand by the truth. See you next time.